Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Gardenside Chats. We're here in the garden Friday morning, and today we're going to talk about insects on squash plants. So let's zoom in real quick before this one guy continues on its way, because he's on the move. Here we have, I'm going to try to fold this over. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see it? No, you can't see it. Where is it? Come on. Keep moving the camera. Keep moving. It's right there. So I believe that this is a juvenile assassin bug. So it's a true bug. It's in the same family as squash bugs, which we're going to talk about in a second. Oh, there it goes. It's right here. So assassin bugs, use my finger. Yeah, isn't that cool? Like those stripy antennae. And you can kind of see how the back, hopefully the back kind of like arches just a little bit. So they'll get bigger than this. This is just kind of a juvenile, but they are a predatory insect and considered a beneficial insect in the gardens. And so what assassin bugs do is pretty intense. They have a proboscis, just like squash bugs, just like butterflies and stuff. But unlike butterflies and squash bugs, what they do is they use their proboscis to pierce another insect's exoskeleton and then essentially suck the juices out of that insect. So it preys on other insects. So when we see these little guys in the garden, like I said, this is a young one, so they kind of look different in coloration throughout their life. They're good. And look, he's like looking at the camera, which is kind of cool. Oh. Yeah, so that's neat. So this guy is on a yellow squash plant that's doing pretty good in general, but as time goes on is getting more and more squash bugs. So relative of this assassin bug, but not things you want. And so here we go. I'm going to turn this one over, and here is an immature squash bug. Look for my finger. So this is an immature squash bug, kind of moving on to other true bug, other members of the true bug family. So this is not a good one. This, like the assassin bug, has a proboscis, but it uses its little snout to pierce the plant's leaves and suck the vascular juices out of the plant. So this is, okay. This is also, what was I going to say? It is also a juvenile, so that's not what they look like as adults, but they're kind of soft, as young ones, they're soft-bellied and like a light gray. So as you can see all over the place, we've got squash bug eggs on the plant. So squash bug eggs, when I find those, I just kind of like, they're kind of just like crusted onto the leaf, and then I squish them as best I can. Oftentimes you find them on the undersides of leaves, kind of like in the corners of like the vascular system. We're not going to talk about that. I found a good, so here's some more. Oh, this is great. This is what I found. So here's an example of the leaves kind of laid in the corner of the vascular system. And then so these eggs have all hatched, and these are the squash bugs, the baby squash bugs. So I'm just going to kill them because I don't like them, and because I want my squash. So I'm just going to kind of smash them. So here's another thing of eggs. Just going to kind of, the eggs are actually harder. They're kind of, like I said, like crusted on, so you kind of just have to kind of pull that leaf apart. Kind of scrape the eggs off and squish them as best you can. Here's another, I killed a bunch last night. So here's another example of a couple different like age groups. So like real young, immature, still none of them are adult, but I'm just going to try to squash the ones that I can. Because what they do is, while they don't chew the leaves, so like all of this like leaf chewing, this is not done from the squash bugs, but they really do reduce the vigor of the plant. And so we're just trying to keep them at bay. I mean, they're really hard to kill. They have very tough exoskeletons. So, perfect. So, like, I don't really have much to do as far as being able to kill them. Oh, there is. I don't know what's going on there. I'd have to get closer. So just kind of squashing them with our hands. Here's another, and like you can see, like we're just moving leaves and they're everywhere, which is kind of heartbreaking. They do seem to appreciate certain squash varieties over other squash varieties. So here's some more. I mean, the eggs are just like everywhere. It's kind of out of control. At first, I didn't think they were going to like this yellow crookneck squash plant, but they appear like they do a lot. However, right next door, I have a rapicante squash, which is like a big, you can eat it like a zucchini, but it's also, you can let it mature and get like to be a giant, almost like butternut squash. Like here's one on its way to maturing. However, you can see they're right next to each other. Squash bugs all over this one crookneck squash plant. Not one on this plant. Okay, well that might be a little bit of exaggeration, but not to the extent that the yellow summer squash has. So as you're planting your garden during the winter, you can kind of look through seed catalogs and see like, okay, well maybe it'll say on the description of the variety like maybe more resistant to squash bugs. So yeah, like I don't see really any eggs. So part of it is squash bugs kind of spend most of their, I think they can fly, but they spend most of their time crawling. And so because I've got this rapicante squash trellis, it's just harder for them to get to the leaves that are about 4 or 5 feet off the ground versus something like the summer squash, which is, you know, just directly growing on the ground. So squash bugs smell like, what would you say, like a green Jolly Rancher when you smash them, and they look like toothpaste. So it's like a weird, like sensory experience. But they really do, you can kind of see the discoloration on my plants from just like, you know, reduced vigor because of the squash bugs predating. Oh, here's more. So I'm just going to kind of squish those in. Oh, they're everywhere. In transit to look for any other pests. Okay, so if you can zoom in. So now we're going to change gears and talk about other squash pests. So if you can zoom in to this male squash flower. This one. Inside is a cucumber beetle. Oh, yep. Here you kind of see it. We'll leave it on that flower for a little bit. So cucumber beetles are leaf chewers. Unlike squash bugs, they actually chew holes in leaves. So you can't really see it at the moment, but cucumber beetles have two kind of like forms. They have yellow with black stripes or yellow with black spots.
Oh, it's coming out.
It's coming out. Here we go. This is a stripy one. So they're leaf chewers. They, you know, like cucumbers, like all cucurbits. The issue with the cucumber beetle is they they're a vector for a bacteria that kind of what we call gums up the vascular system of cucumbers and squash. So what will happen is the cucumber beetle eats a little bit of like a cucumber leaf or summer squash leaf. Here might be a good one. Look right here. Look right here. Oh, it dropped. And then the bacteria gets transferred from the gut of the cucumber beetle to the vascular system of the cucumber plant or the summer squash plant, and then it can't get its like juices flowing from the roots to the stems and vice versa, and so it kind of just immediately wilts and dies. So that is another pest to look out for with cucurbits. They are way more mobile than squash bugs. They fly very well. So they're a lot harder to just squish with your hands or catch. As you might have been able to see, it was hard to even get one to like come out so that we could look at it. For cucumber beetles, we at CCUA, at the Ag Park and at the Veterans Urban Farm, use a lot of the insect netting I keep talking about, just because they're so mobile, it's hard to collect them and kill them. We don't really do the insect netting or really anything for the squash bugs because it's such a big pressing issue. We just know that squash bugs will come. We'll try to mechanically pull them off as we can, but that's just a way of life with squash. This continues our saga of insects, mostly pests in the garden, although we were lucky to see a predatory insect, the assassin bug, today, which is really cool. So tune in later for another segment of other things that are also eating the same food that you want to eat. So thanks for joining us. I'll see you later.